time?
Yes, yes. So they work. It's a good question, Marguerite. They work exactly like a physical book. So once the e-book from BorrowBox is borrowed, it's just as if you'd borrowed it off the shelf. It says out, not on loan, and then it actually, we've got it set up so it actually, for a 2-week loan, so it actually drops off. So if you haven't read it, tough, you can't just keep it at home on your bedside table. It's gone.
Sorry, on that, because what happens with an ebook, still have, it's like having software installed on a machine. You have to buy the license. If I've got 5 computers and I want Microsoft, and if I want Adobe Suite on the 5 machines, I have to buy 5 licenses for those machines. So you can't just have one and just go, oh, well, anyone can borrow it. So the ebook I think would work the same. It depends on how many licenses you've got. Would that be right? If you've got how many copies?
So like 20 people can't borrow the same ebook?
That's right. That's right. Just like 20 people can't borrow that copy of that. Yeah, yeah. We do have other like third-party databases that work slightly differently. One's called Library Thing for Libraries, and the other one's called Libraries Anywhere. And for that to work, and they're apps for your iPad, for those to work, we have to do batch uploads of our records. So every time we buy a new lot of books, let's say, and we upload them into the catalogue, we also need to upload those same records into Library Thing for Libraries, which you've probably never used it, but you can download an app on your iPad, and anyway, you don't have to actually be connected to our OPAC, so you can search for Santa Sabina Library. You could be, on holidays somewhere, and you're looking for a book or something, and it will tell you, yes, Santa Sabina has it, and so does Burwood Library, Strathfield Library, Concord Library, libraries that are around us.
Oh, right.
Which is kind of cute.
So you can check books in
Yeah.
if they're not here.
Yeah.
And what was it,
Library, that's called Library Anywhere, LIB, I think the app is LIB Anywhere.
While I've got you on that, that would mean that the network here then has to have a line somewhere to a cloud, hypothetical cloud, the internet, that sits on the internet. You only need like some kind of logon. So you need to consider that in your diagram of the topology. So it also connects to the internet for the ebooks. Somehow you need to show that, represent that.
Wait, is that only for the ebooks or for everything?
The cloud bit?
Well,
the Library Anywhere. Yeah. So that's for everything. So it's our whole catalogue records are uploaded into that. Yeah. But we have to remember to do that. It doesn't. We have to remember, and that each time we upload books into the catalogue. Oh gosh, I have to upload them into Library Anywhere as well, which is kind of a bit old-fashioned in a way. I can see that probably will change.
Storing and retrieving information from the TPS. So explain, justify the storing and retrieving. So where do you store all the data? I assume that goes into a server?
Yes.
And whereabouts is the server sitting in the library?
The server is in IT.
So through cabling?
Yep.
It's through cable, so somehow it's wired through the cabling around here.
You'll see blue cords coming all around the place in there, and
Okay. So we'd call that that would be a database server, because the library this is a database, so that would be sitting on a database server.
Yep.
Okay. Backup procedures. How do you do backup? Mm-hmm. What if the system goes down, and we had the experience of Strathfield all shutting down? School has to continue. Mm-hmm. Students want to borrow books, students want to return. Mm-hmm. What do you do in terms of backup procedures, paper records, off-site storage, recovery?
Yep. Okay, so our backup is done along with the whole school backup. So I think, every hour, I think it is, the server room does backups of all of our systems. We used to,
So while you're there, that backup system would be put on a RAID system. You might need to look up RAID, but it's a multitude of hard drives stacked up on top of each other, and it would actually just store that there. And there's a different procedures for it. So they might use partial backup, incremental backup. I'll find out that information from IT because I'm not sure. And then they use the grandfather, father, son backup systems, I think. Is that
yeah,
right?
they do.
Use that?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we used to then, in the old days, before you backed up to a hard drive, you'd back up to a portable hard drive and you'd take it off-site. The library doesn't do that anymore. That's all done through IT. So yes, you would need to check what their procedures are. If something goes down, let's say the Strathfield blackout occurs again, we have to make sure that we don't add any borrowers during that time, add any catalogue records during that time. And let's say there was a class in here borrowing, and if we are backing up every hour, if there was a class in here borrowing for a period and the server went down, let's say, 50 minutes after the next backup, then that's the previous backup, then that is gone. So, but if a class comes in and the system is down and people still want to borrow, then we keep paper records of just the borrowing. So we would stop all our other processes until the system's up again, but we never stop our borrowing processes. So we write things down on paper. Then obviously we have to input that data when the system's back up again, which happened that day. What else?
There's compare and contrast the user interface for real-time processing and batch processing. That's the user interface, so that's the forms. What I will do, I'll come at some stage and maybe take a photo of the batch screen and the real-time screen, and then everyone will have access. I'll upload that to Haiku, the images, and then you've got access to them, because it's about comparing and contrast what information is on the batch that isn't on the real, etc. Okay? Discuss how the information could be used by management to assist the operations of the library. We've spoken about that, so working out which textbooks are needed, what's on the reading list, from generating from your queries and things like that. What are some of the ethical issues that may be associated with the TPS, and can we suggest suitable strategies that would assist in preventing this issue reoccurring in the future? I suggested something with the students, and I know that this happens, and I address the students then and there, where students take somebody else's card and they borrow.
Yep.
I mean, for me, that would be some ethical issue in terms of privacy, security. What if the card's stolen? And they use that to borrow books and things like that. So I don't know.
And then that has implications, as you imagine. If you imagine you've borrowed a book with somebody else's card, and we have photos on our system to try to, avert that, because sometimes your photos on your card, you don't look the same in year 11 as you looked in year 6. But of course, all the information generated, like all the overdues, all the notices, all the letters, go to the borrower, i.e. the owner of that card, and they're the ones who are liable for that resource. So if a borrower has done the wrong thing and either given their card to somebody else or lost their card and somebody's picked it up and used it, then that has implications for the owner of that card if it's been used like that. It can't be used for printing now. It used to be able to, but that's because of the whole network issue. You can't borrow somebody else's card now and print. It used to be able to.
Why is that? Sorry.
It's the way that the printing is now changed. You used to be able to, I can't even remember, back 2 years to see how it worked. But now, if you want to print something, you have to
log in as yourself.
You log in as yourself because the network recognises you.
Yeah.
I mean, if you knew somebody else's login and password, you could log in as somebody else, but that's another
That's
ethical
another issue as well that you need to maintaining security and.
Yeah.
It says suggest suitable strategies that would assist in preventing this issue recurring.
Are you talking about the printing part of it as well? Just
Yep, the general printing, borrowing. So this is for you to think about later in terms of make suitable suggestions that would assist in preventing this issue from reoccurring in the future. So maybe you can think of even investing in technology. Thumb. Come here, you put your thumb on, it recognises your thumb ID, away you go, borrow.
There are a lot of library management systems that do work on a thumbprint or retina recognition as well.
Very expensive for a school library to be investing in, but that is a possible strategy if money wasn't limitation.
I know, it's not something, yes.
Describe the alternatives that are implemented when the TPS is not available. So what happens when you did mention when we had the power surge here, but in terms of one-off, do you go back to manual?
Yeah.
Yes.
Pen and paper. Is there like a manual form that you fill
There
out?
is a form that we fill in like a barcode numbers from the stock take, each stock item, and the borrower name.
Okay.
And then later on we enter it with our systems.
It's back online. Okay. And the last question is radio frequency identification, RFID. Compare and contrast your RFID collection system with traditional manual and barcode collection systems. I know that you've got this RFID because it zaps every time you leave the library.
Yep.
The girls aren't really, so we haven't actually spoken about this hardware.
Yeah.
Can you explain to them how it's in the book and what the...
Yeah, we don't have an integrated RFID system. I would love one, but it's going to cost about $60,000 to transfer this library over to an integrated RFID. I'll explain the difference in a minute. So currently, we have to use a two-step process. So we have a barcode on our book which identifies it in the catalogue record, just like you have a barcode on your card which identifies you as the borrower. Then we have this tag, which talks to the gates. So this is alarmed, if you like, and it talks to the radio frequency that's the field that's around those two gates, and that field is reasonably wide. You might notice that we have quite a gap, what do you think, about 1.5 meters maybe, between the gate before the first bookshelf. If we had it any closer, they'd be going beep, 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 beep all the time. So that's sort of how big the radio frequency field is.
About 2 meters, isn't it?
I guess it is
2
about,
meter radius
yeah.
or something.
In a fully integrated RFID system, though, it's a different kind of tag system. You can have it integrated in your barcode, so you're only putting one tag on. And, you know, remember when Ms. Suka said that her public library has got as soon as she puts it in, it knows that it's been returned and it's back online. That's part of the RFID. You can also have what we call a self-check system. So that's where the thumb and the retina thing would be more. So you don't have to come to the desk anymore. You just go to a self-check-in system, put the book on. It's a bit like scanning your groceries, you know, and on the thing yourself. You bring up your borrower card, however you want to do it, flash it, thumb it, whatever. Put the book on, and it's done. And then it's all integrated with the catalogue and with the gates and everything else.
I just thought
Sadly, we don't have that.
Prediction, just in communications. Imagine this. Internet of Things, right? Every book, obviously, on the internet, IPv6, right? So every book is on the internet. You can track it, where it is, etc. It's a bit scary, really. So the person somehow has some tag that identifies who they are, right? So person doesn't even have to skip. All they have to do is grab the books they want, walk out the library, and it's already